This is EVN Report, and you're listening to Up Close and Personal, a podcast that goes beyond the bylines and bios. I'm Maria Titizian, and in each episode, I sit down with a guest to explore the full story behind their work, the turning points, the quiet moments, the experiences that have shaped them. Journalists, academics, artists, and more. Some you'll know, some you'll be meeting for the first time. But all of them have something to say if we take the time to listen. Cengiz, one of the reasons I gravitated toward journalism at a very young age was that I'm naturally curious. I'm curious about the world, curious about events. When things are happening, I want to be in the middle of it, and curious about people, about what shapes them, who they are, how they got to where they are. And we've known each other for a long time. And I followed your work. But I really don't know very much about you, about who Cengiz Aktar really is, what shaped you. So I want to start by sort of jumping into the personal experiences and intellectual journey that have shaped your outlook. Because one could say that you are an anomaly as a Turk, as a Turkish public intellectual, who doesn't live in Turkey.
No.
And I want to talk not just about Turkey's political evolution, historical narratives, Armenia-Turkey relations, and all of that, but who were the thinkers, the writers, or mentors who shaped your worldview early on?
It was a permanent discovery, frankly. Good morning, Maria. Bari Luis.
Bari Luis.
So, when I was young, when I was a child, I wanted to be an archaeologist.
Oh my God, me too.
No, really?
No, I'm serious because in grade 3, I gave a speech about archaeology, and then my father said, "Achchigas, my daughter, this is for rich people. We're not rich."
No, exactly, because you don't make money out of it. But
Yeah.
I was, thrilled really by the archaeology and, digging and finding. It's a bit like you. So it's. And then, my intellectual journey, my academic journey, it was systematically shaped with this, desire to dig and learn and really understand more. I think this is me, and this is how I started to qualify myself when I look back, and, it's everything I did was in a way related or triggered or motivated by this love to go deep and discover unearthed things. Exactly. I mean unearthed, because archaeology unearthed. Okay. So I think this is me. But I did everything. All various topics that I got involved over years, were motivated by this love for, discovery. Let's put it that way. And frankly, what I'm involved in, this what I call the euphemism, the politics of memory regarding, the Armenian Genocide, but not only, the Pontic Genocide and all this. These are deep, completely earthed, not unearthed, but earthed realities of the country where I was born. When I started to talk about this kind of things, and the very reaction in the beginning was always, but this is too old. What are you talking about? It's much too... And no, but, these are layers, and actually they are the foundations of Turkey. And necessarily not only of Turkey, but also of the... of those who live in Turkey, because but no one makes this link, and no one pay sufficient attention to this kind of, social environment shapes you. Of course, your family shapes you, etc. There are millions of things which shape you, but this is so deep and so, strong in terms of foundation. I call it the evil foundation. That no one can escape this,
It's been a lifelong pursuit almost of yours to try to understand that in a very profound and deep way, because as much as you say that, and you've said this many times, the modern Turkish Republic was founded on the annihilation
Yep.
of the Armenian nation, where for me as a diasporan, my identity was completely, at the time when I was living in the diaspora, shaped by genocide because of, my four grandparents being orphans, and so you will never be free. You, Cengiz, or the Turk, or the Turkish nation, will never be free of that historical memory unless you confront it. For us, we confront it on a daily basis. Here, not so much for me. Here, I'm concerned about state build. I'm concerned about security. I'm concerned about resilience, how to protect what we have left. Yeah, but how do we reconcile that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this mutual suffering is maybe not the word which qualify the both entities. Let's call them not nations, but. Those who remained, not only Turks, by the way, Kurds and others, those who remained actually bore the consequences of this huge loss of civilization. And very few people understand this. I mean, Anatolia, and let's not call it Turkey, but Anatolia was devastated. First, ethically, morally, politically, economically, socially, by all ways of life of a human being or of a society. I mean, if you don't understand this, I'm talking in general, if you don't understand it, and this is one of the ways, I mean, the awareness is there. I mean, the needed awareness is there. I mean, some people understand this, elderly, etc. Their expressions, for instance, mainly among the Alevis, and they say the Armenian is gone, the wealth is gone. I'm translating it, and it's true, So this is an overall catastrophe. It's a common catastrophe, actually. I mean, this Metzi again is okay. Armenians lost their lives. The other guys didn't. It was not their lives, but they lost a lot. So this awareness is fundamental, and this is, in my opinion, the way to go, to make people realize that and this is very much missing in Turkey. I'm both political scientist and economist, and I have several, academician friends here and there, and top guys, and one of them is the most prominent historian of economics in Turkey. He happens to be the elder brother of a very famous Turk. I mean, I won't give his name, and he is. I asked him one day, I mean, why you are starting the Turkish, the economy of Turkey at 1923? He knows, of course, and he said, Cengiz, this is too complicated.
Too complicated.
They don't want to hear about that.
We don't like complicated.
They don't want to hear about this kind of things. I mean, they have destroyed not only the Armenians and the Greeks, but they have destroyed the entire economy of the country. I mean, you cannot ignore this.
Sure.
You cannot miss this. You see what I mean? So this is probably the way to go, and extremely difficult. This is very, very difficult, and very few people were aware of that. And I say where because one of them was Hrant Dink.
Right.
Hrant knew that. Hrant, Hrant by formation was a scientist. I mean, he made chemical studies. You see, but the man had heart like my God. So he by instinct he was understanding and feeling this kind of things.
Yeah, and he was misunderstood not only in Turkey, he was misunderstood here in Armenia as well. Tragically, if you ask me. And I remember years ago, and to be honest, I can't remember if it was you or somebody else who said this. Since we're being so honest, my memory itself is not good. Someone said that there was a Turkey before Hrant Dink and another Turkey after Hrant Dink.
I don't know. I mean, I used this formula also. I don't recall, but it's not something which I use often. But I mean, definitely, it's yes, definitely, it's before Hrant, after Hrant. I use this. Yes, exactly. And this is a cutoff date, kind of, and I don't know. I think his martyrdom Let's call it that way. I don't like this kind of terminology, but it's true. Because if he was not Armenian, he wouldn't be killed.
Of course. Yeah.
Saying the same things.
Right.
You see?
Well.
Yeah. Oh, no.
He might have been thrown into prison.
Yes, but not killed.
But not
okay,
killed.
He lost his life. Okay, but he has given his life. Let's say that. And then, but that has made a real shock among the population. I mean, it was dearly paid, of course. The retribution was huge, but that created a shock among the non-Armenian entities of the country.
But Cengiz, let me ask you another question about Hrant and what that precipitated, because you were also were one of the leaders of the I Apologize campaign after Hrant's death.
Yeah, I started that.
You started that, right? The first time I went to Turkey, I went to Western Armenia, which is what we call, I did that trip, and then I went to Istanbul for the first time. And I had zero expectations. Mm-hmm. But I was shocked because there weren't supposed to be people like Cengiz for me. Mm-hmm. For me, it was the ugly Turk. For me, it was the Turk that was out to kill Armenians. And then I come to Istanbul and I meet people like you. And it was shocking to me. But you are a minority in Turkey.
Oh, yes. Arch minority, yes. Oh,
so
yes.
Really... So when we say there was a Turkey before and after Hrant,
yes, definitely,
for whom?
For sure. But for all those who doubt, let's put it that way. And minorities are very important, Maria. The revolutions start with minority, not with the masses. The masses follow,
right?
Of course, everywhere. But this consciousness regarding the foundations of this republic, the ill foundations of the republic, is something, it started before Hrant, actually. And this is one of the reasons why he found me, in 99 when I came back to Turkey to help out in the EU process of the country, because EU dynamic is something and was something, now it's dead. But
is it dead?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll get back to that later.
And so he found me because he was feeling that this dynamic was conducive to something else. Of course, he was right. And this is how we started to interact. And this questioning regarding the past of the country has started with the EU process, definitely. And but the assassination of Hrant was a kind of culmination and also a catharsis, but also a genesis of something. Because I use another formula. I say the genie is out of the bottle. So once the genie is out of the bottle, it's impossible to put it back in the bottle, you see. And this is exactly what happened in Turkey. And, for instance, to give you, now the freedom of speech is no more. The freedom of press is nothing. Turkey is not a country where the rule of law prevails. Okay, we know all these things. But the G word, as it was called the G word at the time. Yeah. So now everybody says genocide. People say that, and no one is jailed for that. It's okay. The official narrative or officials don't like this, but okay, they don't persecute because it's there. It's out in the in the public. So this is what I mean. And there are more and more youngsters who are in the country, but also outside the country for sure. But in the country also who are trying to understand what really happened, etc. The Randing Foundation was very instrumental in this, and there are other institutions. They are struggling. They are, it's not easy. It's definitely, but something is happening, and there are always more publications, etc., incomparable with what we didn't have after, say, before 1999. Actually, it started in 99. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fascinatingly frustrating and contradictory place for me as an
for me
Armenian.
too.
Yeah.
For me too.
Because, again, I think it was the second time I was in Istanbul, or maybe it was the first time, and I was walking down Istiklal, and there's bookstores everywhere, yeah? Well, not everywhere.
I mean, less and less.
Less and less, but then there were. I mean, it struck me that there were quite a few bookstores. And I think it was a book translated into Turkish about the pictures very familiar, Zabel Yasayan. And I was, again, there were so many levels of shock that I went through. I'm thinking, in a bookstore in Turkey, there's a book about Zabel Yasayan in Turkish. So that was my first kind of introduction to understanding that, yes, there are layers in Turkish.
But this is a bit cryptic. I will give you, there is worse, I mean, quote unquote. It's the book of Raymond Kevorkian is translated in Turkish. The Raymond's book gives details at the level of villages.
Sure.
Mind you, I mean, this book is published.
This is what I'm saying. It's frustrating to me.
No. Yeah, but I mean, can you imagine? I mean, you live in Çorum and you go in Raymond's book and you look at your village, and Raymond gives details about who killed who almost. You see what I mean? I mean, almost.
Yeah.
So this is, I mean, this was unimaginable.
Right.
Before.
Right. No, there is a Turkey after Hrant Dink, but I'm just trying to understand where this Turkey is going today, because it's very important for us. I wish this was video so people could see her reaction. It's like, we don't know either. But
the fate of an intellectual, especially like me, who is really working on the hard side of this, of the reality of the past, of the story, of the mountain, whatever. For me, it's also very frustrating. It's going nowhere. I mean, this country is, Turkey is a totalitarian country for me. I mean, as far as I see it. And frankly, I don't, and the zeitgeist, I mean, there are the autocrats and, dictators everywhere.
We know it very well.
Yes,
We're
exactly.
surrounded.
So, of course, this is hard. This is not conducive at all to any kind of, I wouldn't say dialogue, reconciliation. Anyhow, there are plenty of words, but I mean, common understanding and, trying to develop actually a common history. This is what it's about, because this history is common. It's a common history.
Well, of course it is. If we don't say it,
but it's a common history. Yes, absolutely. And then, what I wrote a piece in which you will read in the publication of this Heinrich Böll Foundation about this politics of memory and how to reckon with the Armenian Genocide, etc. I detail there, how difficult is this work. I mean, for an historico-political reason, because the Turkish nation, Maria, was created on the basis of the genocide. And I say this since years. And because this nation, the very foundation, the very cement of this nation, the very glue of this nation was Islam. So there was no place, by definition, per se, for the non-Muslims in this nation. It's as simple as that, Armenian or Greek or Syriac, it's the same, It's so, and they were liquidated different ways, and this is it. And any talk, I'm not even saying recognition, but any talk about this past puts immediately and actually cracks immediately this taboo. And we said, because you tell the guy, I mean, your nation is based on Islam, and this is, and you destroyed all non-Muslims. If he says yes, he recognizes that this very nation is completely artificial, and its foundations are completely, shaky, because this is it. I mean, you see what I mean?
No, of course.
This is self-destructive in a way. This is why it's so difficult to make them understand. I will give you an example. I mean, it's a side example, but with this genie getting out of the bottle, many tongues have been freed. So, work, academic and, amateur, but doesn't matter, publications about the so-called, justs, those who saved, Armenians and others, This was something that the general public had no clue about.
Right.
One. Two, the grandchildren of unfortunately female Armenians, because they were killing the boys and keeping the girls, of course. So every family has, is particularly in the Kurdish areas, they have one, Armenian, either granny or aunt or whatever. So this kind of narratives also came. Third, those who had to convert to save their lives. Hrant was talking about 2 to 3 million as grandchildren. Anyhow, whatever the figure, but among these people, and there is a book by two French journalists, and it's published in French, and I think it exists now in Turkish also. I'll give you the name. And these two young journalists made a tremendous, very good digging work, actually, and they went to find the grandchildren of these people. They ended up with stories, incredible stories. I mean, just one, a man who discovers an Armenian grandmother. It happened so that the guy is an extreme rightist, MHP.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he commits suicide.
No.
Of course. But it's unbearable,
Wow, because their entire identity is all of a sudden.
I mean, the guy's identity is based on the rejection, denial, or whatever of this reality.
And his grandmother
is
Armenian.
Can you imagine? I mean,
incredible.
Imagine the trauma. I mean, so this kind of things,
I remember a Turkish, I won't give her name, intellectual journalist, was in Armenia. And it was at a film screening, so she got up to say a few words, and she said, and even her body language, I remember being so almost crippled in a way. And she said, I don't have, unfortunately, she goes, I don't have Armenian blood or something like this. And it was like, I couldn't, so you get all kinds, right? Like two different extremes, like to have an Armenian granny in her lineage would have given her some more legitimacy. But Cengiz, I'm going to drag you back into something else. Wait, I'm not done yet. So again, I'm trying to understand. So did growing up in a particular political or cultural environment for you affect your sense of civic responsibility or historical accountability? What was it that shaped you? Because there are many Turkish intellectuals who deny the past.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Frankly, I have no straight answer to this, but I can tell you that those who write about me in social platforms and who follow me, and they say, but it's obvious that you are Armenian. Why you are not saying it?
Just admit it.
I mean, and one lady just writing the other day. I mean, I have no problem with it, but just say it. Just admit. I mean,
have you done
see
a
what
DNA?
I mean?
I know. Have you done a DNA test?
I mean, exactly. No, but DNA is the same. Oh yeah. Oh, but this is another matter. Very interesting.
Tell me.
The Turks, this DNA thing with saliva, that you send your saliva to the US.
Yeah.
Okay, and many Turks did it, and some of them stopped doing it because they have the same DNA as the Armenians and Kurds, and nothing with Central Asians, of course. This is 1,000-old story. I mean, they're completely mixed for sure. And so, I mean, this is another shock, actually.
Sure.
I mean, this is the reaction people have. And the majority of my friends are denialists. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So why me? Frankly, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I didn't have particularly an education which which was conducive to this kind of liberal approach, I would say. But I went to a very famous school, Galatasaray, which is it's the Eton of Turkey, actually. The UK Eton. It's 12 years, from the primary school till the baccalaureate, and then And then I studied in Paris. This is where I learned about the Armenian genocide, by the way. Because we did, at the time, when I was at the college, there was no way we could have learned about this thing. That was 1960s, 70s. No way. And there was nothing about it. Frankly, nothing. Just through the writings of some novelists. Kemal Tahir, for instance, or even Nazım Hikmet. But these are novels. It's not it's not academic books, about the details, etc. But they were talking about it. They were courageously talking about it. So you should read. You should have read, between the lines to understand really what was happening. And there is a famous poem of this famous Nazım Hikmet. This is a poem where he makes a tour in Old Town Istanbul, and he describes all the dwellers, and among them there is one bakkal, which is a shopkeeper who is Armenian. That's the last two strophes of the poem, and he says, but he's very unhappy with what we have done to his people. They have deleted this tool, the last sentences, until 2004,
Really?
5, something. Yes, and now it's back. But
Censorship at its best.
Censorship, exactly. So but frankly, why I ended up there, I don't know. I was reading my baby book.
Your baby book.
My baby book, who was written by my father. My mother and my father. So my father writes something which I never realized when I started to read this baby book, when I learned how to read. But he says there that I was child. I was very
Curious.
keen on justice.
Really?
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
And that really struck me, justice, and it says you never, accepted injustice. And this, so
Maybe that's it.
That's it.
Cengiz, have you paid a personal or professional price for this?
Professional, no, because in those years when I was teaching in academia in Bolis, Istanbul, so again, thanks to the EU dynamic and the EU winds, we had a liberal period, I was talking about it in connection with Rand, etc. So didn't have really problems, but in Turkish academia, you cannot write a PhD on the Armenian genocide. Let me put it that way still. And it's impossible. And it won't go through. And not only it won't go through, but also a professor will never dare to accept your proposal for a PhD, because anyhow, I am not an historian, so I was not involved in this kind of things. But we were doing what the academia was not doing within the framework of the Randing Foundation. We organized incredible meetings, with the top scholars from everywhere, and on what happened in Diyarbakir and Mardin, etc. So I couldn't say I suffered professionally, but. Personally, I left the country now. I am persona non grata, but not only for this, but also of this, truth telling, definitely. I don't regret this kind of things. I live with it, and I have no problem. And
yeah.
But after all, because I consider myself as the continuation of this huge exodus which started in 1916,
Sure.
Of course. It's our turn now.
Yeah.
Of course.
For those who
because
dared
the foundations are wrong.
Right.
The foundations are wrong.
But
they
is there a
keep
brain
producing injustice. They keep producing, a lack of rule of law. What is the weight of Erdogan stealing billions compared to 3 million non-Muslims disappearing between 1894 and 1924? It's nothing. It's peanuts. It's not important. What is it's zero, zilch. It's not important. When if a society is capable of swallowing this, digesting it, and saying that nothing, no, it's not important. Okay, this society.
This also
I'm
is
talking
not
about
important.
society,
Sure.
the people, and if they are capable of digesting this, they can digest everything. Any illegal or illegal act by the rulers. So this is where Turkey has ended up. Frightening, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is because
Goosebumpy.
yeah, because it's not only Turkey. I mean, there are many
Yeah,
countries
for sure.
who are in that situation, and you write about this in your latest book, The Turkish Malaise, right? About the masses following,
That's it.
and just as masses followed, the Nazis or any other genocidal objective or action. It's frightening because what does it tell you about the human mind, the
This is
human,
it.
yeah.
Yes. I mean,
So
look at the United States.
yeah.
I mean, look where they ended up.
I know, it's incredible.
Tocqueville actually is fascinating because Alexis de Tocqueville has warned about that. I mean, way back, 200 years old. I mean, they say, watch out. I mean, it's not automatic. It's not given. Democracy should be fought for.
We often, again, coming back to genocide and sort of my own identity and formation as an Armenian, as a human being, not only as an Armenian. And I always used to say, it happened at a time where there wasn't communication, there was, no cameras filming. And so then it was, you play these stupid games in your head. And then we see what's happening in Gaza. And it's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's cinemascope.
Yeah.
It's live.
It's live now.
Live.
The war.
It's live genocide.
The genocide was unfolding before our eyes, and you feel ridiculous as a human being, right? Like, because if somebody wants to do that, there's nothing in the world to stop them.
No, for sure. But I'm thinking, a lot about this, what is happening, and this is a society, a polity, a people, polity with the state and the society. Okay, Israel. I mean, 70% of the population approves. Huh? Okay, so I mean, this is a people who was genocided. Okay, who
experienced genocide. Yes.
So I compare the Jewish people to the Armenian people.
Everybody
Armenians don't, wait a second, never,
massacred or
no. This is something which, I mean, this is, my 2 pennies, for this is a matter for reflection and thought. How come? This is fascinating. Okay, Nemesis was there, but I mean, this was just for the top brass, but that's nothing. And also some, immediate revenge in the Erzurum area, etc. It's incomparable.
Of course.
Now these guys, after 80 years, are doing the same to Palestinians.
Right.
But Armenians never did that. It's very interesting, Anyhow.
But
I closed the
Cengiz,
it's not a parenthesis which should be closed.
it should
by the
never
way,
be closed. But it's interesting. During the 2020 Karabakh war that we had, so we had the 4-day war in 2016. This is obviously, our listeners know I'm talking about Azerbaijan. But in the 2020 war, because Turkey was involved, it was a different kind of terror.
Yes, sure.
And from the diaspora as well. I remember my sisters. Yes. How I ask you, how is it that Cengiz, you are Cengiz? I oftentimes think, why am I so in love with Armenia, and why am I so, patriotic when my family maybe isn't as much, But during the war, there was something creeping up their spine because Turkey was involved. Because all of a sudden it triggered.
Of course.
It triggered these latent almost memories of this generational trauma, and everybody was like freaking out because Turkey was involved.
Yes. And the Second War too.
Of course, and then we
actually
had
Turkey won the war.
Well, okay, you said it. Yeah. Well, I don't think that Aliyev wants to hear that, but you can say that all you want. It's not the point. The point is, Turkey and Azerbaijan today, it's for us, it's like genocide 2.0.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's definitely the case, yes. But of course, and
But
this
do-
is
but
where,
do
where they
Turks-
go, and the Turks are completely stuck with the Baku regime. I mean, the Ankara regime is stuck with Baku regime. Let's call a cat a cat. And for two reasons. One is that economically speaking, Turkey is doing very bad and is desperate for cash. And one of the supplier of cash is
Baku.
definitely Baku. Next to the Qataris, Emiratis, blah blah, etc. Okay, so everything is welcome because Turkey is in really dire straits. But okay, that's one. Two, it's important. Two is that this anti-Armenian tropism of the official narrative is so strong and deep, in the country that whatever Aliyev says, don't open the border, whatever he says, Turks won't anyhow. They won't. Because it's a step, it's a leap that they would never, I think, dare to. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think they'll manage. I don't see how. And you said it's genocide 2.0. And for Turkey is definitely, for Ankara is the same. I mean, it's a continuation of something, and they have accepted and they have agreed with the Azeri narrative regarding the Armenians. This is something new, and there is no serious academic work on it yet. No, it's definitely needed. This is a must, because how Turkish narrative about Armenia, Armenianness, genocide, etc. is evolving, it's exactly evolving through the narrative of Baku. Now, this is new. And in Turkey, I don't think anyone reflects properly upon this.
But, I was at a conference here at AUA where you were participating also, and you talked about how Turkey is financially bankrupt at the moment. And so, therefore, their relationship with Aliyev and Azerbaijan is based on that.
Yes.
What happens when the oil revenues dry up?
Yeah, I mean, the problem of Turkey, I mean, this is, of course, a risk, but for both Baku and Ankara. But
So it's not
Turkey
ideological.
otherwise-
It's
No.
Is
Turkey
it-
is a permanent headache for the Westerners. Why? Because they are dead afraid of the implosion of Turkey. Turkey shouldn't implode because, for
Can they prevent
several,
that? Can the
yes,
EU
they are preventing it. Yes,
How?
definitely. Oh, but by pumping in money, by taking Ankara in new ventures, I'm pretty sure that the Ankara now will be part of the new European army.
You
Turkey.
do think so?
Oh, yeah. And that's a game changer, and it's.
Is it? I mean, Turkey
yeah,
is
it's
part
a
of NATO.
Yeah, but there's no more NATO.
Well,
The
okay,
US,
but
no. Canada will be in it, but there will definitely be a new security and defense structure
Sure.
in Europe.
Sure,
And
this was
Turkey will be
clear,
part
yeah.
of it, together with UK,
because
Norway,
geostrategically it
etc.
is too important not to be.
Yes.
And what does that mean then?
But it means, I mean, that will have consequences.
That's why
I
yeah.
gave a speech. I made a talk about this at the AUA the other day, and that will have implications for the neighborhood, of course, both for Mesopotamia and South Caucasus, for sure. But as the country will be obviously pro-European by definition, in the new structure, of course, the Europeans will have a say. More say than now, probably, because the EU process of the country, the membership process, is gone. It's over. It's finished.
Because you were a long-time advocate, for those who don't know.
Sure, but it's dead. It's dead.
Yeah.
Now it's dead. I mean, Turkey will not become an EU member.
Because it doesn't want to?
Also, but I mean, the Europeans don't want to hear about it. And technically, because there the techniques are important, it is impossible to have two big countries as new members. I'm talking about Ukraine.
Well, you think
Ukraine will oh yes, Ukraine will be an EU member. NATO, I don't know. I mean, but even if the
In the new
Europeans
security-
manage to put in place a proper European defense and security architecture, one of the driving forces of it will be the Ukrainian army, definitely. 1.5 million people, soldiers fighting and completely trained, etc. Combat trained actually. The combat trained armies are not, there are four in Europe: Ukraine, Turkey, UK, and France. No other. I mean, they all have soldiers, but they don't combat.
Yeah. And everything that happened has been a huge wake-up call, I think, for Europe. And
oh, definitely. I mean, this is something has broken there. People don't realize this. I mean, all the friends here and there that I talk to, they say, Europe, army, no way. I say, okay, that's not the question. It's not either or. It's when.
Yeah.
Because it's without that, Europe cannot exist and survive.
Certainly not anymore. And I remember a diplomat who shall remain nameless from an EU country said, Maria, I don't know what you Armenians expect. The EU doesn't have a standing army. This was years ago.
It's coming.
It's coming, for sure.
It's definitely coming.
There's so many things. This podcast can go on for 4 hours, I fear. But I do want to come back to Hrant Dink and the I Apologize campaign.
Mm-hmm.
What moved you to launch that?
I was contemplating
maybe it's an obvious question.
No,
but
not at all. It was, I was contemplating internally, personally, when Hrant was still alive, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. I didn't mention to anyone, but it was cooking on, in my brain and heart, obviously. And then after his assassination, it became...
It was obvious that you had to do it.
It became obvious. It became obvious. And this was a very stunning experience because I took 3 friends, actually more than 3, but the others dropped out in the course of the campaign. But 3 remained, Ali Bayramoğlu, Ahmet İnsel, and Baskın Orhan. But incredibly, unsuspected people signed it. Very interesting, very, very interesting. The nationalists and, right-wing people and we were really amazed. And the reaction of the official Turkey, quote unquote, was, of course, very, very strong. But it never ended up in a kind of court case or, any persecution, no. For the time being, at least, because the Turkish state never forgets.
But it was fascinating to watch what happened in Istanbul after his assassination.
This is why
it was like sitting in Yerevan and watching those images.
200,000 people.
It was just a natural, sort of very organic outpouring, or there was...
Yes, absolutely. It was spontaneous. And, I think in the last, I would say, this memory works really started in 2000. Actually, we can date them back to the creation of Agos and this publishing house, Belge, of Ragıp Zarakolu. And he started in early 70s. All his books were systematically persecuted, etc. It was about the genocide, not only the Armenian genocide, but all these, ill foundations of the country. But, the books are books. Okay, who reads? Okay, but
you have to stop saying that.
No, but no one reads anymore. But these 2 very strong public actions. The first one was the funerals of Hrant, and the second one was the apology campaign. These were public. These were everywhere. These were across the board, and these are the 2 main and critical moments and motifs which ensured the crack on the wall of the denialism in Turkey.
In that light, how do you see young Turkish intellectuals who still remain in Turkey, because you have spoken about this brain drain of people leaving the country. How do you see their evolution or the evolution of civil society today in Turkey, again, in light of the totalitarian, authoritarian regime and, the imprisonment of people that we know. Yeah, Osman Kavala, Chidem Matur, and many others.
Yes.
But these are people that I know
Yes.
that we share in common. Is there an evolution taking place, or
Yes.
yeah?
Yes, I mean, young people, I mean, they are out now. I mean, they speak out, they take risks. And frankly, I mean, I feel more and more that the Armenian genocide in Turkey is not a taboo like before. I'm convinced of that. It's no more. But where do we go from there?
Well, you still can't do your PhD on it.
Yeah.
You still, I mean, you can publish books about it, you can talk about it, but the acknowledgement has to come from Turkish society. And I remember, you know, we had done this interview. I'd done this interview 9 years ago, and I was just listening to it again the other day. And I asked you a question, and I'm going to ask it that question again. Is it the responsibility of the Armenians to help Turks understand their own history?
Oh, definitely. I'm
And
convinced of this. And you know, this
but
is why
that's putting the onus on the victim.
No.
Yes.
It's I call it, I mean, I mentioned this, you know, this awareness building. You know, this is awareness building. I mean, the Turks have no idea on what they've lost. They don't know. You know, they don't know what they've lost by getting rid of the Armenians and Greeks and the Syriacs. This is not a direct but indirect awareness building. You know, it's books like, for instance, those expellees, let's call him the Armenian Greeks. I always put them together because it's they are the victims of the same approach, ideology, policy, whatever. Okay, Turks have no idea about how these people, you know, got empowered in their, new societies. They don't know. They don't know.
So have we been going about it the wrong way? Instead of demanding the Turkish government state to recognize the Armenian genocide, we should have been writing more or talking more, or raising more awareness about the cultural, social, economic, political loss.
Definitely. Because time has arrived for it. You know, I can understand the first and even second generation. It's impossible. The first generation never talked about it. The second generation
was too consumed.
Exactly.
To survive.
So I mean, it was still very, I would say,
look, I'm third generation.
Yeah, but it was still very, very, very close.
Sure.
But I think now the time has come to make all these, young Turks, actually, because it's a young population, to understand that what they have lost. They lost it. I mean, they lost tremendously. And that was a fundamental and mistake. I mean, a policy mistake, you see. And no one was telling the Ottoman, these three pashas to liquidate the non-Muslims in the. It's a choice that it was a policy reflected upon and then taken. There is a big black hole there. The black hole is because, you know why? Because the history of the genocide and all the other related, pogroms and genocides have taken out of Anatolia, you see. And they continue to survive and, develop in, outside the Anatolia. And in diaspora everywhere, Armenia, Greece, United States, Europe, Russia, everywhere. So, but nothing remained in Turkey. Turkey lacks knowledge. Turks have no idea, no clue about what is. The young generation doesn't even know what means a Greek and an Armenian.
I know. That was my
This is
impression.
exactly what I'm.
Istanbul was so big and cosmopolitan and so many different people, and I thought here was little Armenia, and it's like we're jumping around and nobody even knows.
This word doesn't ring any bell.
Yeah.
And we should reach a point where it will, it will ring a bell. I mean, it will ring, etc. This is it. And this is, that's the only way. It's a very cumbersome way.
Yeah.
But it's, without that, I don't see, because then we narratives stick to their position.
Yeah.
And, okay, it's a
Because
dialogue
that's
of the
comfortable
dead.
there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's comfortable in your own
Yeah.
bubble, in your own,
Yeah.
because you don't have to confront anything.
Okay, you killed us. We didn't kill them.
Okay.
Full stop.
That's
it. You know, what's next?
So
you know?
Cengiz, as an intellectual, an academic, a scholar, writer, journalist, essayist, all of those things, all of your activism, all of the things that make who you are, you. How do you see Armenia, Turkey?
But again, I mean, I'll come back with I uttered the formula common history.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I think, that's, for me, that's the only way. I mean, I will probably, spend the rest of my life doing this kind of things. I'm doing it already in Greece, thanks to a friend who is now revitalizing an Ottoman foundation existing in Rhodos Island.
Okay.
And the foundation was founded by one of his arch-grandfathers and an Ottoman official, and it still exists. And it's there, and there we are looking for the common history. Because the common history, meaning, all these entities during the Ottoman times, the Orthodox, but also the Jews, but also the Muslims, but also the Armenians. There were Armenians in Rhodos, etc. So, and we are working on it, to develop a kind of common understanding that these guys used to live together. Okay, this is this.
Yeah. So I.
And they produced together, and they did things
Of
together.
course.
Of course, everything was, completely shattered, and but I mean, this is not. I mean, the history, because without knowing the past, we cannot build the future.
No, I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true. Yeah, my grandmother was from Marash, so she was Turkish speaking.
Yes.
She didn't. And actually, was it her or the other grandmother read the Bible in Armenian but in Turkish letters? So
No, the other way
fascinating,
around.
or the other way, fascinating stuff. For me, and so Turkish was very much part of my childhood. But I never really learned it. So I go to Turkey the first time, and I'm hearing Turkish, and it's the language of love of my grandmother.
Of course, because she was probably loving you in Turkish words.
Yes,
with Turkish
yes.
words. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And my mother uses a lot of Turkish, but her Turkish is very Anatolian. You guys have changed it. You said Ratsi, we would say Racip, right?
Exactly. Yes,
like she would say Oğlum,
yes,
and not
exactly.
Oglum, or it's changed now, right? So
dialects.
But it was fascinating for me. That was a huge eureka moment.
Yeah, well, exactly. Eureka moment.
And the food is all the food of my childhood, and food, of course, is an expression of love that you get from your mother and your grandmother. So it was infuriating, to be honest. I don't know that the Turk feels that, though.
They don't know.
They don't know.
They don't know. Now there are many Turks traveling here, by the way, and of course majority of them have no idea, and they are.
They probably
so
don't even know where Armenia
surprised.
is on the map.
But
Or
they're
that-
so surprised about, with also the, Lebanese and Syrian, I mean, who are all from Anatolia, of course.
Yes.
And the food, I mean, they are really, I mean, the first, primitive reaction, but we eat the same thing. Yeah, so what? I mean, yes, but I mean, they do the same in Greece,
Yeah.
They say, we tolma, so, okay.
Yeah. Imam Bayand,
Yes,
Yeah, because Imam Bayand is something I grew up with.
Yep.
Yeah, but then when I realized that it was Turkish, I was like, hang on a second.
Even the word is Turkish.
Even though-
Yes.
What was it? The mullah fainted or something, whatever it
Exactly,
means.
the Imam has fainted because he liked it so
So
much,
that he fainted. Cengiz, thank you for this honest conversation.
Thanks.
It's always a pleasure speaking with you and trying to understand one another, and we have a long way to go still.
Of
even
course, oh
after-
yes, but I mean, yeah, I did, yeah. I mean, frankly, I don't see any other way. Because I have no expectation from the state.
Yeah.
No, nothing at all. That won't happen. But the only, the vivid force that one should build on is the young, curious minds, and that's it. And but not only young, the curious minds, not only the educated people, common people in Anatolia, they know all these things, because particularly in those places where the oral narratives have survived.
Yes.
Because there is no written narrative, of course, but the oral narrative survived, because they learned all kind of stories from their grannies or the grandfather, etc. So there is something. And then okay, they destroyed extensively the monuments. In 1923, the creation of the Republic, there were 2,500 various monuments belonging to non-Muslims. 2,500. It's a big figure. And churches, monasteries, schools, mainly these three. Okay, only 250 remain today, but they are there, and they are not. In the 60s, still they were blowing them up. Yes. So but now no more. So people see that. What is this? I mean, that looks.
Although granted, they don't always say this was an Armenian church. When you go to Ani, for example, it says something else. It's similar to what the Azeris are now doing.
Albanian.
I don't.
What is this?
What is that?
But apparently, anyhow.
Anyway,
so
we're not going to get into a thing of
no.
history. But thank you. I know this is your last.
Most welcome. Yes, I'm departing.
You're departing today, but always a pleasure.
Thank you. Hopefully I come back and we continue the
conversation.
The nice talk. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Thanks for listening to Up Close and Personal. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow and share the podcast wherever you get your shows. Until next time.